I was watching this video from Android Authority last night, again, after I'd finished doing everything that I thought I was going to do for the night. And, I didn't have the energy to get up and record this right after I heard a couple of these comments. However, I wanted to address something that he said. And mainly it's not even his opinion. It's a question that he asked. So without further ado, let's go forward and actually hear this question that he asked and the points that he makes when asking it.
It wasn't just specs. It was everything. And that's something that the OnePlus 12 just seems to lack. The thing that most perplexes me about the OnePlus 12 though is, who is this phone for? Think about it. In the Android world, the Galaxy S24 Ultra is the top of the line, best of the best. It's for the people who want their phone to do everything. It has the S Pen, it has the best camera hardware, it has Galaxy AI, the best display. Everything about it is just the best. And then you have the Pixel 8 Pro, which isn't the best, but is for the Android purists who want the best camera experience that you can get. Then you've got something like the Nothing Phone 2. That phone doesn't have the best of the best, but it has a very unique design with really cool tricks to do with the glyph, and exists for those young consumers who want their phone to be very fashion forward. And then of course, once you exit Android, you have the iPhone, which is for all the people who don't want an Android phone. But this, I don't really know who this is for. It's not for the gamers. It's not for the photographers. It's certainly not for Android purists. Who really wants to buy this phone? Obviously, OnePlus does really well with sales and all that, so I'm not trying to say that nobody wants to buy this phone, but who is the consumer that OnePlus is going after? It's not really clear from using this phone for any period of time.
When I hear something like that, it's a little bothersome, mainly because as he annotated, he pointed out three phones. He pointed out the Galaxy S24 Ultra, he pointed out the Google Pixel 8 Pro, and then the Nothing Phone 2. Three phones in the realm of all of Android. And to try to, I guess, minimize the number of other devices out there that aren't those, to me, is just, I want to say, a little narrow-minded. If I could just get to my conclusion before I say anything else, is that maybe somebody just wants a good phone. And even as he points out that OnePlus sells enough phones, a lot of them, I don't have any actual numbers, but if they've gotten all the way up to the OnePlus 12, they've been doing something where they've been around long enough to be able to make phones year after year in a successful manner. So I don't get why a phone has to be for a gamer or for an Android purist or for somebody who's really into photography. At the end of the day, at the root of what they all are, they're all just phones. And yes, it's up to the device manufacturer to make some changes, some tweaks to add some features. And there are a lot of people who probably aren't subscribed to Android Authority or to my channel who just want a good phone. And if we come over to the OnePlus's website, of course, they have to draw comparisons between their most expensive device, or I'll say their high-end device, because actually it's not the most expensive. The most expensive is the OnePlus Open. But here is we'll say the most mainstream device that they offer. And if we're comparing the OnePlus 12 to the phones that he called out, starting with the price. So the price starts at either $800 or $900, depending on the storage and RAM configurations you get, which is lower than the S24 Ultra and the Pixel 8 Pro. Also, and it's true, I briefly had a 12R and I can talk about that later, but yes, if you just send in any phone in any condition, yes, you get that $100 off. So that's pretty good. Then we talk about charging. We know that people are always worried about battery life and hoping to find a charger somewhere. And look at those numbers. 50 watt wireless charging, 80 watt wired charger, 5,400 milliamp hour battery. The wireless charging for this device is faster than all of the wired charging for all of the competition. when you actually decide to plug it in, which in my opinion is the only way you should be charging your phone anyway, mind-bogglingly fast. Almost twice as fast as the Ultra, not quite, but over twice as fast as the Pixel 8. So just, hey, it's a solid device. Yes, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 for the Qualcomm devices, and Google has their own Tensor G3 chip this year, or last year, I guess now. And I mean, I don't think that because the screen size is bigger, that's a better thing. Yes, I would prefer a smaller screen, but you know, they've annotated it as a better thing. And then in terms of max peak brightness, that's something else. That 4,500 nits of max peak brightness is pretty impressive. So to answer his question, who is this for? It looks like it's for somebody who just wants a solid device. Now, I know there have been some issues in terms of build quality for a few people. I mean, I don't think it's been a widespread thing, nor have I been looking anymore, but I do know that I've heard some issues in terms of, build quality, quality control, whatever. And I'm assuming if it's a true issue, OnePlus will iron it out. No idea. But I can't imagine that a phone manufacturer has to appeal directly to one of those three categories. So Android purist, photographer, or gamer. Just don't think any of them have to do that. I mean, heck, even in those categories, the S24 Ultra is not any of those. One UI is not for Android purist. He says that the Pixel, which I agree, is for people who really want the best photography experience. And even though it's probably fine in terms of gaming, I wouldn't consider any of the S24 devices gaming phones. I mean, again, they all are running similar chipsets, so the experience for a lot of them are probably the same. But the ROG phones do exist, and there are some other ones that I'm just not familiar with because I don't look to game. So again, I just reiterate that, yeah, it sounds like the market for a OnePlus device, regardless of what OnePlus used to be, but it sounds like they're aiming for people who just want a solid phone with good specs at a reasonable price. And the other thing that I know isn't as good, and I use that term very loosely. Let me scroll up. So right here. So guaranteed 4 major Android updates and 5 years of security updates. Like I know that's not the 7 years that Google and Samsung are both now promising, but I'm right there with the OnePlus CEO of 7 years is too much. It's not worth it, in my opinion. And I guess the CEO of OnePlus is not worth it in their opinion either, to offer 7 years of support. By then, most people have probably gotten rid of their devices. The user experience most likely isn't going to be that great for the user if they're holding onto a device for 7 years. And at that point, it's not really worth it for the device manufacturer to try to continue supporting something. These things just aren't meant to last forever. And 4 years of, or 4 major Android updates and 5 years of security updates definitely is more than enough. So I enjoyed this gentleman's video. I did watch the whole thing, and I understand that OnePlus's direction has shifted over the years, and I think he said he didn't like OnePlus devices after, I want to say like the OnePlus 7. So I have not really paid too much attention to OnePlus at all, but this video just happened to spark my interest. Plus, as I said earlier, I did buy a OnePlus 12R. Now, I did return it mainly because, and it was in the news, those who bought the OnePlus 12R and opted for the 256 gigabyte variant thought, myself included, thought that the storage speeds were going to be UFS 4.0 because that's what OnePlus said, that's what was on their website. But we later came to find out that those storage speeds were actually UFS 3.1. Was it the biggest deal? No. But personally, like for myself, I can't speak for anybody else. I specifically purchased that higher tiered storage device for the increased storage speeds. Now, granted, I think it was only like a $60 difference, or in fact, it might have been like a $40 difference between the base model and the upgraded model. But I still said, you know what? Like that was the last thing that really pushed me over the edge of, let me spend a little more money for something I really don't need because it has this one particular feature. Most of my devices have 128 gigs of storage and 8 gigs of RAM or, nothing fancy. But when I opted to get that other device, it had 256 gigs of storage and 16 gigs of RAM. Two things I just didn't need. But again, UFS 4.0, I was hoping to see some type of performance increase. And they lied. So in summary, I think the OnePlus 12 is a good phone. Even though I had the 12R, I still think the OnePlus 12 is a good phone. And yeah, to answer his question, it's really just for somebody who's looking for a good experience. And there are people out there who don't like One UI. There are people out there who don't want a Pixel. And as a person who has owned, I think the Nothing Phone 1, I just didn't care for it either. So Android is all about choice. And as OnePlus has just released their 12th phone, or however many phones have actually, 12th edition of a phone, clearly they're doing something right.